Get started. Anyone that needs to take a break is out the door, down to the right, and if we need to vacate the room for any reason, down the steps, out the front door, hang a left, and gather up behind the building. Before we do our introductions, I know I did hear from Pete, Karen, and Chip, and they are not able to be with us today. So, Morgan?
Morgan Butler, Southern Environmental Law Center.
Mark Graham, Albemarle County.
Kristen Sakis, Charlottesville City Council.
Brad?
Brad Sheffield, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors.
And Henry is here.
Yeah.
Hey, Henry. You're good. You're covered. Get your coffee.
There you are.
Henry Ryan Shank, West Carwash Consultant.
Joel DiMaggio, VDOT Charlottesville resident engineer.
Dave Covington, VDOT Charlottesville residency.
Lynn Cullen, VDOT IT support.
Al Jones, VDOT Charlottesville residency.
And John Lynch, VDOT Culpeper District.
Debbie's on the mend, but she's hanging back again for this trip. But hi, Debbie. I know she's watching. For anybody on Route29Solutions.org, go under the panel and meetings tab and the advisory panel documents, and you will see the agenda and the presentation for today's meeting. Okay, let's go ahead to the last meeting we had. Again, the numbers are just very consistent in terms of the number of viewers, number of people tuning in, and kind of the average run of the streams. I think that's been a consistent pattern for about a year now, or most of this year. Go ahead. I had 11 emails come in to the project inbox the last 2-week period. I think this one may have been the same person that wrote last time, but I didn't want to exclude it, about the gravel parking lot under the Berkmar Bridge. And as we discussed last time, that there are permit conditions for the contractor to restore this area to its original condition, and for that permit to be modified, there would have to be some request from more than likely the county or some other entity to make that request. And then it would really be up to the permitting agencies to decide if a modification of that permit would be permissible. And I think, just remind me, I think that permit is held in Lane Corman's name, not VDOT's. So, one regarding signal timing on Route 29 South. And we'll talk about signal timing a little later. All these timing issues continue to be monitored with little adjustments made as necessary. These two were really one comment about sidewalk extensions and bike lane extensions on Rio. And I think, as we discussed before, while there are some sidewalks being reconstructed and new ones constructed, there's not any plans to extend the ones on Rio or to extend the bike lanes. That's not part of the project. One requested an okay to link the Route 29 Solutions newsletter to their neighborhood site, and Lou told him absolutely, by all means do that. Anyone's free to, just as a general reminder, all that information out on Route29Solutions.org is public information, and absent a copyright on some document to the contrary, it's there to be shared. This one, I don't know if we ever got any more clarification on it or not. It was right after the intensive work started, and it just mentioned a parking lot being full of cars.
It was related to Albemarle Square parking lot. The issue was that it was sent on May 23rd, which was the day the intersection crossover was closed, but it didn't show up in Route 29 Solutions email until I think it was June 26th.
Okay.
So I wrote back and didn't hear anything, asked if they had any issues.
Absent a follow-up, we'll presume that one resolved itself. There was a nice note from someone about just the general VDOT's project management, Lane Corman's management and delivery of the project. That's always good to see. One regarding just general signal timing and phasing between Woodbrook and Hydraulic. One regarding the visibility of speed bumps and speed limit signs on Carsbrook. And Joel's folks have done some more work out there to paint the markers on the speed bumps, and I think you cleared some brush.
We have one more sign to clear.
One more sign to clear. So that one's getting done. Two requested more green time for the left turn, southbound left turn at Fashion Square Drive, and we'll talk about that a little later. Additional green time has been added there. One regarding speeding on Berkmar at the piece between 29 and Rio West, and I think we bumped that over to make the county aware there might need to be some enforcement there. One regarding some issues with the left turn green arrow at Berkmar and Rio. And I don't think we've been able to trace any issues with that particular movement. So if that individual is listening or reaches back out to us, maybe get some more specifics, because the situation they were describing, we haven't seen replicated. One regarding actually I think all four of these were frankly from Hardee's. The location of entrance to Hardee's, and I think we did put an entrance sign out, better mark the entrance. One regarding the cleanup of some signal cables in their parking lot, I think we took care of that. One regarding, just asked the general timing of when landscaping in front of their facility would be replanted, and then they just asked Lou, hey, just keep us tuned in on next steps. And I will say, and I don't think they would mind me saying, Hardee's has really worked carefully and closely with VDOT to stay on top of things, and has expressed in writing their appreciation to Lou and the project team for really keeping them tuned in with what's happening. And that's not the only business that has done that, but as far as I'm concerned, it underscores the value of the face-to-face communication. And all of a sudden, you're not VDOT, you're Lou and Joel and Dave, and that makes a big difference. The website had one comment about the signal cycle at Ashwood and Route 29. It really had to do with the sun's effect of, Dave, explain that a little bit more, how that sundial was working.
Yeah,
so I can drink something here.
Due to the work in that area, they had to put up detector cameras instead of the loops in the pavement. And there was some thought at one point that when the sun was coming up in the morning, it was shining just right in the camera, that it wasn't picking up some detection. We had adjusted a while back, but just to make sure there wasn't an issue, they added a sun shield onto that camera. We've been watching it for a couple of weeks, about a week and a half now, and seems to be working fine. So,
And there's been a couple of direct communications between the individual that brought that up and VDOT, so that's good.
And if I could, just to back up for a second, just to point something very important out. The comment there about speeding on Berkmar Drive between 29 and Rio West, that's always a concern, and it's always one that we will refer to county police, because obviously we can't pull people over for speeding. But I do want to commend the county police on their increased enforcement efforts through the work zone. It's made a big difference lately. As far as safety and speed and legal turns, we do appreciate that very much.
The Branchland detour just never took off, though. It just wasn't going to happen. So, project hotline, no calls to the hotline, no calls to Chris's cell phone. So, got 2 weeks with nothing there. Report on panel feedback. last time was brought up that now that Hillsdale is getting closer to construction, let's include those updates, construction updates in the traffic alerts and the newsletters, and we will absolutely do that, and we'll have something to start reporting here soon. We said we would continue to keep an eye on crash data, and Joel has been our point guy on that. There was 2 new full months available, and before we look at these, Joel, you're right, I said 11, it was 17. I wouldn't draw any large conclusions from these numbers, but for whatever reason, and it could be a myriad number of situations, March and April of 2017, there were a 2015, there were a total of 17 crashes reported, 11 rear end, 5 angle, 1 side swipe. And for the same period this year, March and April, I should have said and there, a total of 4. So
A lot of research shows that when drivers feel less safe, they actually behave more safely and have fewer accidents.
well, we might want to extend the construction period.
Let's not.
No, I know. There's a lot of research around incidents, accidents, safety, and human factors. But still at the end, it's hard to say without really digging into those individuals who were part of those incidents. Obviously, fewer is better. So that's a good thing. Joel's going to continue to track this for us. And just as a reminder, there's a couple months lag in being able to access the data. And if it's not reported, it's not in the database. If somebody hasn't finished an investigation and put it in the database, it's not there. So I think Joel's been taking a little look back to see if there were any big changes in previous months reported. But that's an update, and thank you. Thank you very much. I wanted to cover this a bit, quite frankly, because we disappointed Pete with this. And he's not here today, but he and I talked yesterday. And just as some background, you recall the discussion about the extension of the storage lanes. And we said we would extend the storage lanes 50 feet.
On Woodbrook or on 29?
Woodbrook, the on 29 at Woodbrook and on 29 at Fashion Square. But this is specifically Woodbrook. That we would extend the storage lanes 50 feet or more if an analysis indicated more. And that's exactly what's happened at Woodbrook. The way that, in storage, for context, a storage lane is independent of the through lane. So it's not where a car is at the back of a queue in a taper and maybe its rear end hanging out in the storage lane. It's a full lane width of a car that's being able to be stored, waiting out of the way of the independent lane. The pre-construction storage, the full lane width of storage at Woodbrook, Woodbrook northbound, is 202 feet. It will be 253 feet. And this work has been done. The curb has been pulled back. The curb for the taper has been pulled back. So, and look, there's a lot of inches in here. So if everything doesn't add quite up, it's because I didn't care about it. I mean, it's in there. Actually, it's being extended about 51 feet. So post-construction, the storage lane itself will be 253 feet. The beginning of the taper hasn't move. Pre-construction was a very long taper, more than was necessary to meet design standards, 200 feet. The post-construction taper, which is not part of the full storage length, is going to be 150 feet. So if you went from where that taper starts today to where the storage lane ends at the light, today it's about 402 feet. It's going to be about 403 feet, or materially the same.
So all that changes is the angle of the taper.
The angle of the taper, imagine that triangle of the taper into the lane. That changed, but it also, the length of the taper was reduced. So on the inside the inside left turn lane, there's a full 50 feet of additional storage, which means roughly on the right lane, right left turn lane, there's about another 25 feet of additional storage. So when we were talking about adding 50 feet of additional storage, this is exactly what was in my head and exactly what we talked about and exactly what was on the plans. But when Pete was asking the question, what he was thinking was, are you going to take the taper from the end of the taper? Are you going to take that full hypotenuse of the triangle and move the whole thing back 50 feet? And what I feel badly about is, had I been hearing that as the question, the answer would have been no, we're not going to do that. So by consistently answering yes, then some information has been shared with other people, and now, understandably, makes you feel like, gee, what I told you was going to happen is not necessarily going to happen. And I just simply apologize for that. What I heard in my head when we say storage was something very specific to me, and that's exactly what we have done. The long and short of it, from the viewpoint of adding more storage at Woodbrook, the answer is yes. 50 feet has been added to the inside left lane, and as a result of that, about 25 feet additional added to the outside lane. Is it enough? Is it too much? How will the intersection operate after the grade separated intersection opens? Well, we can just rely on the analysis that have been run, which indicate this is more than adequate, but we'll need to keep watching it. So that's what's happening there. Now, could we have moved that whole taper back? Well, you always could. Would we? No. Because to do that would have interfered with a gas main, right? That the result of that would have been, we're not going to spend the money to do this. So we still have the additional 50 feet of storage. We've got a taper that meets design requirements, and that's what's going to happen. The same thing is happening down at Fashion Square and 29th. They're at 75 feet, but it's been managed in the same way.
So for practical purposes, the storage is increased by 3 cars.
Probably 3 to 4 cars, depending on the size of the car. Yes.
And the distance between cars.
Yeah.
I would take 25 as a number. You probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think we
My
look.
quick
Yeah.
third number is 25.
Yeah.
I think what creates the confusion is when you drive by it, you see that the new curb just moved back a foot or so, the difference between 402 and 403. So
I think that's part of it. Yeah,
change
I
the
do.
taper.
I do.
checking out.
I do, no, I do.
People
I
just
do.
haven't seen in their minds the change in
Right.
taper. All they see is the curb move back 1 foot.
Right, but the tangent of the storage lane, move back 50,
I can
move back
agree with
50
that,
feet.
yes, I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's the issue. Carter Myers was a little bit concerned. He talked to me. By the way, he congratulates you on how quick the project is moving. I mean, he told me to tell you. Okay?
well, good,
Tell you
thank you. Okay.
He wished the project had moved that quickly when he was on the board. But he was concerned with that. And I also told him that is it adequate or not? The real proof of the pudding is when everything is
That's
operating.
right, that's right.
Right now, it could be worse than it's going to be later on because everybody has their own informal detour system, and there are a lot of cars detouring their own merry way. Once the bridge is open again and so on,
Right.
then we can say, well,
Right.
it's adequate or
Sure.
maybe not adequate.
Sure.
But right now, it's premature to reach a conclusion.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Based on the chat he and I had on the phone, and Dave went out to meet with him, I really feel bad when, it's sort of like somebody throws you the ball and you kind of watch it go by, but you thought you caught it.
Okay, Phil, we give you a pass.
But I wanted to be sure we all had a clearer picture of what's going on there, and, in hindsight, would have done that 6 months ago, and put that up. Thank you for letting me go through that. The open discussion item, Henry, any items for, okay?
I already did what I had to say.
Thank you. Brad?
No.
Morgan?
Question that's spurred by the Hillsdale meeting that occurred, I think it was last week.
Uh-huh.
I know there's been a great amount of effort to coordinate some of the pavement treatments and some of the design details between the projects that VDOT's administering. I noticed on some of the drawings for Hillsdale, they mentioned there will be pavement treatments on certain parts. Is there any effort to coordinate those with to make them consistent with the same types of designs that we're seeing on the other Route 29 projects? I'm sort of assuming not because the city's administering those, but I just thought I'd ask.
Well, I wouldn't say not because the city's administering it. It's a design, bid, build project.
Right.
So what's in those plans is what was bid and what would be built. I know there was a lot of discussion over that intense 90-day period that we were finishing the plans and getting it on the street about landscaping and some of those items. But what's in those plans? We have those plans up on our website, right?
I think so.
What's in those plans would be what was delivered. We did kind of interject ourselves into Best Buy was also design, bid, build on the treatment on the noise walls.
Right.
But generally speaking, what's in those plans will be.
Are you talking about the pedestrian crossings? They're pretty elaborate pedestrian crossings on Hillsdale right now, just north of Branchlands.
Right.
One thing, and you make a good point, that's bid build, it also has been around a lot longer than, for instance, Rio. A lot of those elements that went into that plan were part of the city's plans and public comments and things like that from well before we introduced a lot of that to the Rio. So, no, we didn't try to coordinate those actively.
But they may, I suppose there's a chance they may even be better.
They could be better, they could be very similar, yeah.
I know the city was very concerned about a lot of the aesthetic treatments and.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, starting to turn a little bit better shade here. Here on Rio, landscaping, hardscaping, and staining, As far as landscape and hardscape, starting to inch up there at 30%, which, remember, some of that work was actually planned out past September 2nd, but some of it is being delivered early. The restricted period bar there that goes out to September the 2nd is moving quickly, and at least as of Monday, it was about 80% complete. Probably a little more than that. Signing, about 70% of final signing is actually starting to come up. On Route 29 widening, we finally put a check in the box on the gas line relocation, and that is complete. The jack and bore work is more than halfway done, up another 10% to 60%. Some drainage starting to get down now, 10%. A lot of grading on there. Particularly is the grading finished, as the excavation work finished at Rio, those crews moving up there. Phase 1 grading is complete. Phase 2 about 40% complete. Berkmar also continues a lot of progress. North abutment now 100%. The utility relocations 100%, and piers, you'll see a picture of this later, up to about 65% complete. Hillsdale should, by the next meeting, be able to replace these planning stage, the design stage, with some construction milestones. That notice to proceed did go out, and we expect them to start next week.
They've actually mobilized trailers.
Oh, looky there. Okay, all right, good. And 29-250, let's get that out of here. So it's, I think there might be one last little cleanup item with that traffic
Well,
signal.
there was actually two. One was just wiring that little DMS sign there, 29 before the slip ramp. And they're doing that today.
Okay.
And then the other is the signal
Yeah.
magnets that had some issues that need to be resolved. They've got a temporary fix in now.
Yeah. So, you know what, we gave them notice to proceed. Was it the same time, February
15th.
February 15th. So February 15th, maybe didn't quite make May 21st as fully as we would have liked it, but all those lanes from February of 2015 to May, having all those lanes open, construction done and open is pretty darn good. Is pretty darn good shooting in this business. So that we can give them a little pat on the back and tell them now go knock it out of the park on Hillsdale. Any questions about it?
Yeah, on
Yeah.
the railroad,
Yes.
the bar extends to the end of September, but obviously we're shooting for September 2nd, which
Yeah.
if you bring it down to whatever, round the number, it would actually end at the end of August. Not
Yeah.
It's a technicality.
Yeah. No. You're exactly right. If it was one day into the next month, I just extended. This is just a spreadsheet. Just extended.
Somebody may think that you're trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but.
Oh no! If I was trying to tell you something, the bar would be a lot shorter.
That's fine. But listen,
So,
we want to shorten that bar by one block.
Well,
Because September 2nd to me is the same as August 31st, for practical purpose.
see, to me, September is September and August is August. but,
I'm good for
But
Rocky.
no, I hear you. Those, if you've driven out there, and I'm not encouraging you do anything less than pay attention to the road. But if you've had the opportunity,
If you're the passenger.
if you're the passenger,
Our cameras.
if you're the passenger, you can see that things are going well. I don't want to jinx them, but
No question about it.
they are really going well. Sorry about the hard hat tour after getting everybody excited over that, including myself. But there's just too much going on the ground, and the last thing I want to be part of is taking some folks out there and there be even the slightest little mishap in that work zone. And it was the right thing to do, to make it a no-go. So, sorry about that.
I was surprised you were offering it in the first place.
Well, I tried.
We'll get it.
You had to comment about the drones. There have been a lot of flyovers with drones and airplanes that Lane Corman is doing,
Oh, yeah.
but not any fly-throughs. Yet.
I did have a question about the Route 29 widening. Phase 4 starting, is that you're anticipating the traffic shifting over at the end of this month?
That's moving to phase 2 to work on the phase 3 work. In phase 3, if I recall correctly, is going to be a rather short phase, and then.
Yeah, I see the phase 3. You all talked about wrapping phase 3 in with.
Yes.
It's kind of integrated into other work, but I was
Right.
wondering if the phase 4 starting beginning of August, is that when because I've been kind of trying to watch it and guess when y'all are going to switch the traffic over.
Early August is when we're going to switch the traffic over to median. So you can see that now it's got stone on it.
Yep.
It's getting ready for be paved. So it's going to be probably early August, that first week in August, I think is what we're expecting. They shifted a lot of their attention to Rio. A lot of those really good operators went down to Rio. Now they're back on 29 widening and things are going a lot faster again. So.
Thanks.
As a passenger, has anybody had a chance to breeze by Rio recently?
As a driver, huh?
As a driver, I did a half a dozen times today, but you can only slow down and peak so much. Okay. Any other questions there on the Dave?
Okay, good afternoon. Start off with 29250 interchange project as usual. As Philip mentioned, this is really wrapped up. Final punch list item really being done today, the wiring of the digital message board. It's just a little board that I believe the UVA, so I can't remember if it was UVA, I don't know, it's the city. But anyway, they're wiring that up, getting the and the signal. So that's really all that's going on out there. Close out the construction. Next slide. So there's no lane closures really associated with that additional work unless they need to maybe to get that signal in, do a left turn lane closure.
They're doing that today. If you see them out there,
Yeah,
there's
they've got
a
partial,
yeah.
full partial closure. So any questions on wrapping up 29250 and how that went? We still have some things that are outside of that contract to do. Dominion Virginia Power puts in the light poles. Lane Corman, as we've talked about before, will come down and do the staining on the walls. We've got all that lined up with the contractor that's going to do the other projects, so it'll all have a consistent look. So that's still coming. And then we're doing landscaping outside of that contract as well. The fielder's choice work is done. The other work will start.
We ought to thank the county and the city just one additional time for working at, Kristen, this is before you were on, but I think we gave the county and the city 10 days to agree on a treatment for the sound walls because they were planned to be just stark white bare wall. And Joel provided some information on available choices, and the county and the city turned that around to agree on the pattern that's there. So
And not only did they do that at staff level, but actually council got to weigh in on it. So I remember that.
You made a good choice.
So you can do a lot in 10 days.
Okay, we'll move on to Rio, and this week they're still working on sidewalks and curb and gutter. Some of their crews are freeing up in the middle as they're completing that work, and they're going back to the kind of the perimeter now and cleaning up those areas and taking care of some of the, we're actually working on punch list items similar to 29-250 just finished up. Grading and seeding some of the outside slopes. I know the slope there at Fashion Square was just done last week, some curb work there. Completing the Stormwater Facility 4 repair, which was, I believe, already completed this week. Continuing the wall installations. I believe today, during day shift, they will finish up wall section 56 of 65. There's 65 total individual segments. So we have 9 left, and what they've been able to do so far is about 2 wall segments per shift, 2 shifts per day. There's not a whole lot of that left, so by next week they will finish all the walls. They still got some repair work to come back and catch up on, but they're making very good progress with that. Barrier walls and parapet walls, the parapet walls on the bridge, the barrier walls adjacent to the local lanes, those are coming up as well, pretty much with the retaining walls. Under drain installation is ongoing. Barrier wall foundations started this week, and these are for the barrier walls underneath the bridge, the ones that run in through the through lanes. So they're putting in those foundations, and I believe next week they're scheduled to come in and start constructing the barrier walls. Those will go very quickly. Those are slip formed, probably just maybe a few days on those. Installing conductor wire, ground mounted signs, the closed caption TV cameras and poles, and a final CenturyLink tie-in, which is basically just running a little conduit from the bridge over to a manhole on either side of the bridge for their future use. Installing the pedestrian light poles, those are in at the staging area, so they're starting to install those. Detector loops, especially down at 29th Place. They've been working on those. They've already cut them. They just need to put the loops in, and signal fiber installation for communications to the signals. Next slide. So this is just a few pictures, kind of looking at each. I don't think I picked up all 4 quadrants.
Got 3 of them.
Yeah, this one here to the right, there was so much work going on, I couldn't get a good shot. But you can look down this wall. The bridge is basically just off the screen to the left, and every segment of wall panel on this northwest quadrant is complete, with the exception of obviously staining, and they've got to hand rub everything and get that looking a little prettier. But to see that is pretty impressive at this stage. Next slide. So this is standing on the bridge looking south. So we're looking at the southeast quadrant now, in front of where the Jimmy John's is, and they've got the bridge starts here, so they have 1 section. This one's already poured, and then you can see 1 further down. So they've got 3 more on that wall. Next slide. And this is the southwest corner, and they only have 1 section left there right at the bridge. So a lot of progress on these retaining walls. They've been working hard. Part of what Philip talked about before with the work that's going on out there, we've talked about shift change from 6 to 8. There's actually a lot of activity going on during shift change now. So the day crews are working late, getting things ready for the night crews. The night crews are coming in early, getting a head start so that things are ready for the day crew the next day. So everybody's working well together and really making a lot of progress very quickly. So, next slide. So lane closures this week, this is the same as we've been looking at for, about 6 weeks now. Phase 2.
May 22nd.
Phase 2 detours are in place, and periodically, I don't even think they've been really doing any lane closures at night, except for maybe if they have to set up mast arm on a signal pole or something like that. So over the next 2 weeks, they'll continue to work on all those things on the perimeter, the sidewalks, the curb and gutter, seeding slopes, putting down some fill in some areas. They'll finish up the wall installations next week, the retaining walls. I've cut and capped the ACSA 8-inch water main. That's just an ancillary item. It's actually something that they're doing to help out ACSA. Installing the tops to frame and covers for Stormwater Facility 6. Barrier walls and parapet walls, they'll finish up next week. Then they move into pavement striping, base asphalt in the through lanes. So we're already starting to look at barrier wall and asphalt pavement in the through lanes. So we're getting really close. Completing the under drain installation and the remainder of the throats for the drop inlets and the drainage structures. Through lane barrier walls I mentioned before, and then all these same items here for the conductor wire for the light poles, the ground mounted signs, the remaining pedestrian lighting and traffic detection and signal testing and commissioning. So they will actually put the signal in operation early, so they'll have about a week or so that they know it's working the way it's supposed to. It'll be bagged so that drivers won't see it, but they want to make sure that it's actually working the way it's supposed to when they open it up. Next slide, please. And the same lane closures over the next 2 weeks is what we've been talking about before. And then after they open the intersection back up, we'll revert back to where we were before May 23rd with lane closures limited to nighttime hours. Any questions on the right?
Dave, I know I'm sorry, Henry, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead, sir. I know we've done this before, but I'd like to just spend a minute on quality control again, because no one should think that we're just hurrying up and for the sake of chasing a day. For example, you mentioned, well, there are a lot of progress on walls, but there's some wall repair to be done.
Yes.
There are things that don't come out right the first time that you catch, or they catch themselves with their own quality control program.
Yes.
And we make sure they're right. So just
Yeah, we've got a multi-tiered quality management system, so there's really 3 components there. Lane Corman is in, I guess you could say, direct control of 2 of them, and we are in control of the 3rd. And the way this works is that you have what are called the quality control personnel. They're out there inspecting everything. They're doing all kinds of tests. There's more of those people. They effectively work as the contractor staff. So say if you had a crew out there, it may be the superintendent who would be doing the quality control. In this case, they've hired a consultant to do that work for them. So the consultant has inspectors out there watching everything they do, checking the walls before they pour them, making sure the concrete's right, making sure the grade is compacted. So that's the first level of quality management. The second level is what we call quality assurance, which is another separate entity. It's a consulting firm that is part of the design builders team. Now, they represent VDOT's interest, the owner's interest, but they work directly with the contractor. So they are there to make sure that quality control personnel are doing their job. So they'll do independent tests and verify the quality control personnel are doing the tests the way they're supposed to be done and doing them at the frequency they're supposed to be done. And on top of all of that, we have our own people out there in what we call an independent assessment, independent verification role, where we are checking that quality assurance and quality control personnel are doing their jobs.
And
So
that's
we
a
have
more
three-
spot check sort of thing? Or
Yeah, yeah. The way
not checking as if everything that's coming through, or?
Yeah, we probably do a little more than what we normally would, especially on a project like this with, it's moving this fast and high profile. Quality control is supposed to check 100%. Quality assurance, usually 10% or more. IAIB 1% or more, we're probably closer to the 10 to 15% in IAIB. So we do tend to catch a lot of things, but that's because we're out there and we're putting eyes on it every day.
the point I just wanted to reinforce with everyone is that there was some concern from some folks that, well, the only way you can get a project like this done as quickly as you're saying it can be done is not follow your normal processes, construction processes. We're following all of them. In some cases, as Dave said, maybe even more so because of the importance. So you can, not everything has to take an inordinate amount of time to do it right. You can do things right, and you can do them efficiently and more quickly than you might realize you can when you put your mind to it. So, thanks, Dave.
Yeah, in addition to that, you can move quickly and still do things the right way, and it's all in how you work together, contractor and VDOT, versus working against each other, and then all you do is slow yourself down. So that's what we focused on, is working together to try to achieve something rather than just, fighting and bickering about it and then relying on substandard quality control, which we're not going to do. So, but yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for that. Any other questions on Henry?
A while back, you educated me on why the curves on the median strip on Emmett Street, where it like what looks like a 45-degree slant from the normal 85 or whatever it is. And I think I understood it in that context in the median. But I see the same curves now at the corner of Rio and 29, where there's a sidewalk. And there it surprised me that I wouldn't see more of the conventional curve rather than the slanted curve.
Yeah, I mean, whether there's a sidewalk there or not in an urban area, it's based on the design speed, what we call a mountable curb, and the studies that the Federal Highway Administration through AASHTO, the studies that they've come out with really led to overall safety measures and how we design roadways, and we followed that guidance.
Yeah, but making it a mountable curb when you have a sidewalk for pedestrians may be good for the guy driving, but it may not be very good for the people walking.
Well, the other curb, the CG6 curb, it's not classified as mountable, but you drive right over it. So the question is, does the vehicle get airborne, or does it stay on the ground and maintain control, and which is better? And what the guidance from the Federal Highway Administration is that it's better to try to maintain control of the vehicle in all cases.
So what if
For the safety of the.
One is going to kill me by flying, the other one is going to kill me by just hitting me without flying.
Hopefully
Is
not.
that what you're saying?
No, hopefully that doesn't happen.
Okay, so that is now a standard that's used in urban areas?
Yes. It's based on the speed.
It's actually a standard that I believe I'm correct. You don't have the discretion to deviate from in urban areas now.
Okay, so it's a new standard.
It's a
Right,
standard.
right.
It's a standard.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's one that AASHTO developed through the Federal Highway.
It's a standard
Administration.
that's applicable to this urban area with these
Yes,
designs.
the VDOT has
Because
adopted.
I understood in the media, here it was surprising again, so.
Yes.
that's why I asked you. And then the other thing is, would you know why Lane Corman seems to have a temporary camera across from Alvar High School? I saw that.
Yeah, I do. We have 10 cameras. We have portable trailer cameras.
Right.
And we put it in the contract that Lane Corman was going to provide these cameras so that we can monitor traffic around the area. So you'll see them in other locations.
Okay.
It's specifically to monitor traffic at that intersection.
I saw it today. What is it doing here? I'd
Yeah.
forgotten
Yeah.
that was a requirement.
They're very handy because it allows us to quickly just log into the camera if there's an issue. We can pull it up and see what's really happening. The Traffic Operations Center can monitor it because
They're
currently
monitoring these cameras.
they have access to them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was surprised to see that little trailer out there.
The good news is that for the most part, we haven't had to rely on those as much as we thought we would, but they are very helpful and we can move them around to different locations if we need to. Any other questions on Rhino? Okay. So Route 29 widening, as I mentioned earlier, this is really ramped up as the real highly skilled grading crews have now moved back up to this project from Rio. The wire wall 2 construction, this is further north on the project, and I've actually got a picture coming up of, we've talked about these wire walls before, what are they, what's the purpose, we'll take a look at that. The first wire wall was finished up near Ashwood, this is the one further north. Riprap, a couple of, riprap controls velocity of water and erosion, so anytime they're putting in these large culverts, they're putting in riprap. Stormwater pond 2 excavation and fill. They're installing a lot of cross drainage to get water away from that median area for phase 2 traffic shift that's coming next month. Grading the subgrade north of Ashwood, which if you've driven through there, you've probably seen it start to actually look a little more like a road. And I've got a picture or two of that. Curb backup material, they actually poured quite a bit of curb in that area, so they're backfilling behind that curb. Asphalt paving near Ashwood. Northern waterline crossing is supposed to start this week. There is a major waterline relocation that's part of this project, where Lane Foreman is relocating the waterline for RWSA within the project, not as a separate project, so that begins this week. The gas main relocation was completed earlier this week. Jack and bore of 11.4 and 12.20. They're probably finishing up 11.4 today or tomorrow, and they'll start.
Remind everybody, 11.4, 12.20.
11.4 is pretty much right in the middle of the project. 12.20 is also pretty much right in the middle of the project. So between Ashwood and Hollymead, and then they'll move to 11.1, which is right there. The sheets are numbered sequentially, so that's kind of right in the heart of the project there. Under drain installation continues for the roadway section in the median that's being constructed now, and a lot of the telecommunications companies are out there relocating their telecommunications line to the new Dominion Virginia Power poles that were installed. Dominion Virginia Power is completed with everything on the projects. They're off doing other things now, so we're just kind of, these telecoms come in behind them and relocate to their new poles.
You're going to be disappointed that I didn't include your wire wall picture. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, it wasn't the best picture.
We'll make up for that.
This is actually the location of the wire wall right here. They've got the plastic on, you can actually see the wood there. Right on the other side, the purpose of it, I'll just go ahead and explain real quick. We've got a pretty big grade separation there, so this is like the MSE walls we've talked about. You know, you're using the weight of the earth to hold up the wall. It's a temporary wall. It'll, that section will be, the northbound lanes will be brought up to grade in the future, so it'll be, you know, butted up against.
It's just temporary.
It's temporary. But this is the grade looking south from Ashwood. The thing that I want to point out here is you can see how we're adjusting the grade. You see the steep curve, vertical curve on the northbound lanes coming at us, and you can see what the eventual grade of the road will be. So we're eliminating that steep curve there that causes sight distance issues. This is a very similar thing here. This is a little bit further to the south. And again, this is pretty much right in the middle of that big hill. You can see the curve there on the right side that's been poured. And you can see how much of a grade difference there is between the existing road and where the new road will be once this is constructed.
It's been interesting. I've talked to a couple of folks about that, and they were like, well, why do we need to widen that? And when I've said, well, it's also about leveling, I think, oh, that definitely needs to happen. So there's customers for both. I think people south of us really want it widened, and the folks who are driving it really want it leveled.
Well, and there is a bottleneck there.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, so.
Yeah, I have a question here.
Yes, sir.
Because I always have trouble memorizing all the different phases of this project. I see the curb there,
Yes.
which is the curb of the median, which I assume is permanent.
Yes.
And then I see the Jersey barrier,
Yes.
which is where the roadway is currently. But that is going to move further to the right, further to the west.
Yeah. Well,
The median is going to be a lot wider than what it implies at this time.
yes. Yes.
So
it will.
some of the median is going to be where the asphalt is now.
Yeah, the majority of the widening happens on the west side of the
Right.
road. But what you're looking at here is basically the eventual location of the northbound lanes, that road group. And so that curb that's poured there is demarking the location of that median where it starts.
Yeah, but the median is how many feet wide?
If I remember correctly, I think it was a 16-foot median.
I think so, yeah.
Double check
Okay.
that to be sure.
Yeah, and what you see there is obviously,
3.
whatever, 6
And then
8 feet.
that gives us the opportunity on where the existing northbound lanes are to build the shared use path.
Right, okay, I remember that part.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So lane closures, really not doing a whole lot of nighttime lane closures up there now. It's all day work. But if they, for some reason, need to mobilize some equipment in or something, they may close one of the 2 lanes at night. So in the next 2 weeks, they'll continue the wire wall 2 construction, get that finished up. Pond 2 drainage structures, that's to get water into and out of that pond. drainage structures 6.6 and 6.7, some more riprap on 11.4, grading further north on Ashwood. I would have liked to have gotten a picture north of Ashwood, but they had a lot of it blocked off. But there's a section up there that looks really good. It's ready to be paved, similar to south of Ashwood, but even looks even better. But also some end walls on the ends of these large pipes, some more structures, 1521 installation. You can see here over the next week they'll start mobilize up to Jack and Bore, structure 11.1, finish up 1220, and continue relocating the telecommunications to the new poles. And lastly, the lane closures, same situation as we just talked about. Periodically at night, they might do a nighttime lane closure to mobilize equipment or materials in, but certainly not every night. Any questions on 29 widening? Okay. So Berkmar is also ramped up dramatically since things at Ryder are really starting to shape up, and we're getting close to the end there. General erosion control, that's something that they've got 2.2 miles of alignment, so it's a lot of erosion control maintenance to do on that project. Excavation south of the river, they have been working on that. You saw a little uptick in road construction on our schedule, and they're hauling that up to the north side to use as embankment. Excavating ponds 1 and 5, and I can't recall, I might have a picture of one of those in here. Placing and compacting embankment along the alignment. Forming Pier 2, Column 1, well, that was already done early this week. That's been formed and poured. Abutment B MSC panel installation they're working on this week. They are doing some more drilling and shooting rock up on the north end of the project behind the coals. Sanitary sewer casing, which is a betterment that they're working on. We just went ahead and threw it in because it is work they're doing this week. Install structures 14.6, 14.10, and 14.9. These are generally large 48 to 60 inch drainage structures that carry streams or ditches underneath the eventual roadway. So this is a shot looking at the grade. There's one of the ponds on the left there. On the right is what the telecommunications site. It's directly across from Ashwood Boulevard, kind of through the woods. So this kind of gives you an idea of where we're at. Almost straight across from Ashwood. And then this is looking south, so I walked further up north and then took a picture looking back. You can see the telecommunications towers there on the left. So this grade's really starting to shape up. There's some 20, 25 foot fills out there that all that dirt that came from Rio, they put it in there, compacted it. So you can actually just about drive a passenger car, two-wheel drive car on this, almost this entire alignment now, as long as it hasn't just rained.
Except for the river.
Except for the river, yeah. You go all the way down to Rio Mills Road. But, so this is really coming together well, moving quickly. Next slide. The piers. You see two of them, this Pier 1 set, so there's 3 piers for each pier set. The ones by the river there, they're Pier 1. 2 of those are poured in this picture. The 3rd was poured today. And then the 2 with the plastic on them at Pier 2 have already been poured. So they poured 5 out of the 6 piers so far. So probably early next week, they'll set the forms up for the 6th one, get that poured, and they're done. And then they'll start working on the pier caps, which sit on top, which is the steel that's tied here. So lift that up, put that up there, form it up, pour it. And we're looking at probably mid-August, the beams will come in, and they'll start setting beams on the bridge. So that's moving quickly. The piers have been a struggle. It's difficult work, large drilled shafts, but we're out of the ground now, and the piers are coming up quickly, and I think the rest of the bridge will go up very quickly.
I tell you, after 40-some years, you think you've just seen everything. I'm just amazing what you're getting done out there. It just really is.
It'll be something to see when they start lifting.
Just keep it up. Keep it up.
So really no lane closures associated with Berkmar. They've, have a lot more concrete trucks coming in, and when they do, there's only 5 or 6 per pour total. So from time to time, they might have a flagging operation out there, but certainly not every day. Next slide, please. So over the next 2 weeks, continuing that erosion control maintenance. continuing that excavation south of the river, finishing up Pond 5, placing the embankment, pouring Pier 2, Column 1, well, that's already done, so Pier 2, Column 2. Finishing up the abutment B MSE panels, abutment B being the one on the north side of the river. Installing structures 9.2 and 9.3, drainage structures, and drainage around abutment A. So they've got to get water down around abutment A, so you do a ditch and a pipe there. And then really no lane closures associated with the one for the next 2 weeks either. Next slide. Hillsdale, how you want to tell us a little bit about Hillsdale?
Dave. Good afternoon. Happy to say that the city issued notice to proceed to Fielder's Choice last week on the 28th, 2 days early. And they've been out there, they have begun mobilization. There are a couple of trailers out there behind the Homewood Suites. And we've seen them out on the site looking around, getting intimate with the site. Utility relocations continue. They're for the most part done around the commercial buildings. There's some little tie-in pieces to do, but the good news on that is both businesses have been relocated and they were open for business. I think it was on the 28th as well, so that's going well. For the larger project, there's some areas we're looking at to focus on immediate utility relocations to get large expanses of roadway available for contract.
I have a question. I was just at a meeting in Kansas City, meeting with folks from Google and the kind of gigabit internet stuff, and we have Ting here locally that does fiber optic cable. Are they talking to Ting or to anybody about laying fiber optic cable while they have the ditches open?
I don't know. I can check into that. I know there are other fiber companies here that they've worked with, but to my knowledge.
So it would be a good idea if they could check, because while it's there, you want everybody can to participate in filling the ditch.
I don't know, frankly, if they share locations with other telecoms or not.
I know they share poles, but I don't know about ditches.
So you'll follow up on that, Hal?
Yes, sir. I'll check on that and see. But they weren't in the initial outreach for utility companies or any of the
They've
utility
gone a long
leaders.
way recently, just to kind of where they've been, and I know they're trying to do the city, so that might be a place where they have in their plans they could look at.
Okay,
Thanks.
certainly. Next 2 weeks, they will continue to get out on site, wrap up some of the locations around the commercial buildings, continue to work with Dominions out there, CenturyLink and Comcast. Comcast typically comes by after Dominion is done and uses their facilities to hang their lines. Today is the first progress meeting for the project, and we should be getting scheduled information from Fielder's Choice today, so we'll digest that and begin, as you said, to incorporate some items on our schedule.
So we're going to make sure we get that baseline schedule here.
Yes.
Good.
And the trailers are in place, and they'll work on additional laydown area for their staging operation.
Good job.
Questions on Hillsdale?
Thank you. So we track these interim milestones, since these are the keys to, not keys to the bonus for Lane Corman, but also keys to getting this back open. And I kept our percent completes on there from the June 23rd meeting, and just dropped a new column in for the first week of July, and you see a lot of things moving at a quick pace. Stormwater management systems functional up 15% to 95. Drainage systems functional from 75 to 85. Barrier walls complete, and I think our 45% is a little bit light. So,
That's barrier walls, obviously.
well, it's barrier walls. That's right. That's barrier.
You're probably right.
Yeah. The bridge 90% complete, and of course these are some of these things we talked about that wouldn't happen till closer to the end. Signals operational 60%, permanent signing installed 70%, temporary signs, signals removed, 30%. The lighting under the bridge, operational, it's a green box, and then these are other things that are yet to come. So our next meeting is July 28th. I think that chart's going to look a lot different on at that meeting.
I'm intrigued by one item.
Yes.
Temporary signs and signals removed, 30%. Are we removing temporary signals when we are still in the middle of the project?
I think it's just signs.
There are still signal poles up there that need to be removed,
Yeah.
That were temporary?
that have been replaced.
On the intersection
There
itself?
are the wooden temporary
Yeah, okay.
poles that are still there that need to be removed. There are also old signal poles that have been replaced that need to be removed.
Okay, it's a temporary.
So we're not taking down any operational.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the moment.
yeah.
Taking away the yield sign and the stop sign. Yeah, okay, but now that you think about it, I remember the temporary traffic lights, yeah.
So for our next meeting will be in this column, and see how that looks. Won't we, Dave?
Yes.
Any other questions about those? This is our just a update of the single timing changes. I just faded out what we reviewed at our last meeting, in addition to those that have been made. Last time we said we were evaluating 4 seconds of green time at that southbound left into Fashion Square, and that was, I think it was added last week.
I thought it was added.
It was added the day of our meeting. Actually, it was added the day of our meeting. You're exactly right. It had been added that morning. Yeah. So we'll keep track of this. I don't know how many more tweaks any signals might get between now and the end, but we will keep track of that. This is not anything we need to make any decisions on today. I'm not asking for any decisions today, but just asking you to start to consider 2017. We are scheduled out bi-weekly through 2016, and I believe that's important because while Rio might be finished and open, we've talked about watching how everything operates after it's open, and we do have other projects that are going at a pretty good clip, particularly Berkmar, and we've got Hillsdale coming on board. What I would say about 2017, one, is that the Secretary absolutely wants to continue a panel through this process. So that we're going to do. It doesn't mean that we need to meet bi-weekly in 2017 if the panel has some other thought. We don't need to schedule anything now. So like I said, we're not looking to make any decisions, just something to think about over the next several months. We could continue bi-weekly. We could think about bi-weekly for a quarter and then step back and take a look. We could think about monthly for a quarter and step back and take a look. Or we could just decide we want to meet monthly in 2017 through October of 2017. So I'll just ask you to think about that a bit. I don't need to rush it. You know, I will say that the contributions from this panel have made a difference in things that otherwise would not likely have happened. And those contributions have come from everybody that served on it, including people that are no longer on it. And I respect the contributions they made. I know it takes a lot of time. I mean, all of you all are busy. It's a heavy time commitment. I want to respect that as much as possible. I would be completely happy to continue with the same members. I also respect the time commitment. So those are just all things for you all just to think about over the next few months. Whatever we do going forward, and how we meet, if the frequency of meetings going forward needs to be your choice and your decision. The only thing I would say is we are going to have a panel and we are going to meet. It would tickle me if we were all the same and see this thing through to the end. But we do have options on the frequency of the meetings. So just let that sit for a while, and in a few months, maybe in the fall, we'll come back before we get into the fourth quarter and zero in on a plan for the future. And October will be here, but soon, before we know it, October 17th will be here, and all of these projects are going to be finished. That's all I had. Morgan, any wrap up or thanks for, Mark?
Good?
You good? Okay. Henry?
Yeah, unless it's too early to tell you, my personal preference is the third bullet.
Monthly reassess?
I think something and reassess is probably not a bad choice, but thank you. It's not too early to say. I think it's fine for, you all to consider it among yourselves, and then we'll kind of do a little polling or whatever and make a decision. Okay. I think we're finished. Dave? Anything? John, you have anything? Linda? Okay. All righty. Remember, 3 weeks, July the 28th. That's for the sole purpose of me being gone for 2 weeks.
Good time.
I want to try.
Going anywhere fun?
Going to Maine.
That's
I'm
fine.
going to just chill out for a couple of weeks. But
We honeymooned in May.
chill out for the most part. Get some work to do.
Pete asked the exact same.
We'll see you on the 28th.
That's why it sounds
Oh, I see. Yeah.